All right, so this story right here is a big one. This is a big one, and it's not getting nearly enough coverage. So look at this tweet here. 14 miles from my house in East Palestine, that is how it's pronounced. For the record, I know it's spelled Palestine, but it's pronounced Palestine. East Palestine, Ohio. Norfolk Southern, that's the rail company, assures us that the vinyl chloride spilling from the tanks of their derailed train and burning and turning into hydrogen chloride as it rises into the atmosphere and mixes with water vapor and turns into... Look at the picture. Before I continue the tweet, look at the picture. Jesus Christ, that's terrifying. They continue, hydrochloric acid is not dangerous to humans more than 2 miles away. Why would I ever doubt their word? It's not like vinyl chloride in doses more than 1 part per million over an 8-hour period is extremely harmful to humans. And it's not like the hundreds of thousands of pounds of resulting toxic acid in the air is bad for humans either. We people need to just trust that the folks at Norfolk Southern have our best interest at heart and not their own profits. So... this happened. Look, you can see Chernobyl is trending right here. Chernobyl is trending. Okay. Why is Chernobyl trending? Because there was a massive train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. The train is packed full of toxic chemicals, dog. All kinds. All kinds of toxic chemicals. Train derails. There's a massive chemical fire. And this is the result. Now, the authorities are claiming... straightforward way. Don't worry, you're good. You're safe. You're safe. It's fine. If you're in the area, if you're in the vicinity, relax. It's okay. It's okay. I would be running away at 1,000 miles an hour if I was in that area. I'm not an expert. But I would listen to my instincts and say, that looks a little yikesy. I'm gone. I would get out of there, man. So, now remember, at the same time, they're telling everybody, it's all right, you don't really have much to worry about. Look at this. So Dave Anthony tweeted this. It's an article from WKBN. There's like a local news outlet. Officials speak on dead fish following train derailment. More. Health concerns mounting as animals become sick after train derailment. More. A couple of his foxes, is from the article, broke their legs trying to run after the initial derailment. One of his foxes even died. Quote, out of nowhere, he just started coughing really hard, just shut down, and he had liquid diarrhea and just went very fast. So there's been a lot of eyewitness accounts near the area where the derailment happened and where the chemical fire is burning. And people are like, hey man, I looked in the water, dead fish everywhere. Dead fish everywhere. So I'm not sure I buy this whole thing of, you're all right, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about it. You're cool. Remember, guys, it almost reminds me of like the beginning of COVID. When, remember, Fauci gave an interview with some major media outlet and was like, yeah, you don't need masks. You're good. It's fine. And then, of course, soon thereafter, masks became well, of course you need to wear masks. That became the position. But initially, downplay. Same thing in Chernobyl, same thing happened. That's good, don't worry, bro, everything's fine. And then eventually like, oh, I'm just not fine, hair on fire, everybody run. I think 3 Mile Island, same thing. There's always a phase of like, downplay. All right, so now let's go to a local news report. And then I'll give you some more information as to how we got to this point where you have a massive chemical fire after a train derails.
Now, just over a week ago, a massive train derailment and chemical fire happened in East Palestine, Ohio. While thankfully no one was injured in this disaster, many are left with fear and concerns. As families move back into their homes, many questions still remain as to how this could happen and where the community goes from here. With more on this, we turn to Krista Rose, who was one of the first reporters on scene and has been covering this story for us.
Now, before I continue with this, let me tell you guys, there was a press conference in the area, and there was a News Nation reporter who showed up. Started asking some grilling questions. They arrested him. They arrested a News Nation reporter for doing his job. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds to me like maybe they got something to hide. Maybe they don't want those probing questions.
Good morning. Yeah, it's an incredible story, and the last week will not be one that the residents of East Palestine, Ohio will soon forget, from the train derailment to the chemical fire to the evacuation orders to the state of emergency. But as the town starts to get back to some semblance of normalcy, questions remain as...
So evacuation order, then right after, like, yeah, you're good. Go ahead. You're all set. That's unbelievable. I wouldn't be caught anywhere near there, y'all. If you're from there, get out, get out, get out.
To what started all this and where do they go from here? So it was almost a week ago, almost down to the minute, that our cameras went live on the scene in East Palestine, Ohio, capturing images of a 50 train car derailment and subsequent vinyl chloride chemical fire burning from several derailed tankers. What followed was emergency crews from 3 states rushing to the scene, a mandatory evacuation of residents around the crash site, and a town in shock. On Monday, with Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio looking on, officials decided the safest way to get to the scene and put out the still smoldering fire was to do a controlled release or burn of an unstable chemical car. What we saw next was a fire and smoke plume like something out of a movie. On Wednesday, the EPA and other local and state officials lifted the evacuation order and residents began returning home. But on Facebook groups like City of East Palestine, Ohio, many neighbors are still asking questions and expressing their concerns about the safety of their community and the lasting effect from having a chemical fire near their homes. While the NTSB investigation as to what led to the crash is still ongoing, new video of the train before the derailment shows sparks flying around the axles of several train cars some 20 miles outside of town. This raises questions about safety standards and practices done by Norfolk Southern. For now,
you don't sit 20 miles out of town. One of the cars was sparking and on fire, as you can see here right in front of you. Wow. Weird. It's almost like the movement towards getting fewer and fewer people to operate each train seems like that was maybe a bad idea. Seems like maybe you need more than 2 people to operate these trains. By the way, they want 1 person to operate the trains now. They've moved towards that. This is crazy. I mean, if you had a full crew, they would have spotted that and they would have been able to stop and try to fix it. Man. Wow. Look at the incentive structure and where it's led us. I'm going to have more for you in a minute on the corporate practices of Norfolk Southern and how all of this was absolutely avoidable. We know, as a matter of fact, it was avoidable.
While life is slowly attempting to get back to normal in this tight-knit Ohio community, many questions as to why this all happened in the first place still remain. And there is no doubt that we are going to continue talking about this story in the days, weeks, and months ahead and trying to find answers as to why this all happened. For now, reporting in downtown Pittsburgh, Krista Rose, KDKA News.
So after this happened, you guys are going to love this. Look at the response from Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern, the rail giant whose train derailed in East Palestine, has offered to cut the town a check for $25,000. 5,000 people live there, so that's just $5 a person. And the company is worth $55 billion. I think it's time to bring back the gulag. Look, not a lot of people on the left like to embrace this notion that they're tough on crime. I do. I want to be tough on corporate crime. It reminds me of an old Michael Moore scene where he was saying, why don't we have, we have the show Cops, which goes after, like, poor and low income people for oftentimes minor petty crimes. Why is there not a show called Corporate Cops, where you go after the white collar criminals who do a hell of a lot more damage than the petty criminals do? These executives should be behind bars. Now, you might say, well, Kyle, that seems a little rough given the facts that we laid out here. It was just an accident, accidents happen, etc., etc. Well, maybe this will change your mind. This is in the lever. Rail companies blocked safety rules before Ohio derailment. Norfolk Southern helped convince government officials to repeal brake rules, and corporate lobbyists watered down hazmat safety regulations. They created the environment that led to this. This was an inevitable outcome of the policies they pursued. Why? because they want to squeeze every penny of profit out of the system. Every last penny. And this is the result. But it's okay. Here's $5. So you'll get over it, right? Guys, look, we don't know for sure. We don't know the specifics. But would anybody be surprised if in short order, within 5 years or 10 years, you have a situation where people in that region just start dropping dead, start getting all sorts of weird cancers and whatnot? This is what happened. Remember, guys, in the wake of 9/11, when everybody was down there saving people and doing the cleanup, a lot of those people ended up dying very, very young because they were breathing in the fine particulate matter from the building and they were poisoning themselves. I fear a very similar thing is going to happen here with this tragedy in East Palestine and the people who are downwind from that chemical fire. Oh, man, it's ugly. All of this should be criminal. Why do we even have lobbyists? The whole concept of a lobbyist is insane. You have the public votes for politicians, the politicians are supposed to represent the public, but instead you have big money interests, corporate interests, billionaire interests, who get in there, pay the politicians, fund their campaigns, and then they're the ones who really control the policy priorities. What average voter is going to tell you, you know what's top of my list? Deregulating the trains. We need fewer safety regulations for the trains. Well, wow. What a surprise that this then happened. Give you a little bit of this article here. Look at that picture, man. Run. Everybody get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. This is already an economically depressed portion of the United States. And then now they're spitting in your eye and adding insult to injury. This is going to be bad, y'all. Before this weekend's fiery Norfolk Southern train derailment prompted emergency evacuations in Ohio, the company helped kill a federal safety rule aimed at upgrading the rail industry's Civil War-era braking systems, according to documents reviewed by The Lever. Though the company's 150-car train in Ohio reportedly burst into 100-foot flames upon derailing and was transporting materials that triggered a fireball when they were released and incinerated, it was not being regulated as a high-hazard flammable train, federal officials told The Lever. Well, that's good. That's good. Massively toxic chemicals. Let's pretend like it's not that to make more money. Let's do that. It's great. Documents show that when current transportation safety rules were first created, a federal agency sided with industry lobbyists and limited regulations governing the transport of hazardous compounds. The decision effectively exempted many trains hauling dangerous materials, including the one in Ohio, from the high hazard classification and its more stringent safety requirements. If they had the higher safety requirements, what would have happened? Would there be more people on the train? Would one of them have spotted the fire that was happening 20 miles outside of where it derailed? Maybe. We don't know. We'll never know. And of course, look, I can't get through this segment without bringing up the other obvious point, which is we just had a fight in Congress over the rail contracts. And the workers were arguing for higher pay and paid leave, paid sick leave. They wanted like 2 weeks paid time off. And it was Biden and the Democrats who killed it. You know, maybe the safety regulations are a good thing. Maybe they are. Maybe some paid sick leave is a good thing. Maybe you want healthy workers who are well rested, who are sharp, who can deal with problems as they roll in. Maybe you want that. But no. It's all about profit. It's all about squeezing every last penny out of the system. And here we are. I'm telling you right now, man, buckle up. I bet you there's going to be terrible long-term consequences from this. Terrible. And the authorities are flat out lying and saying, yeah, we're good, bro. We're totally good. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I mean, think about the track record that we have, right? How long did we use asbestos in building houses? How long did we use lead paint? For how long did we have leaded gasoline? And what was the official response? Yeah, you're good, bro. Totally fine, bro. No big deal. This is just normal. This is how we do it. This is a similar situation to that. Everything's fine. Ignore that gigantic chemical fire where all the fish are now dropping dead, as are foxes and other animals. It's whatever, bro. You'll be good. Suck it up. Take a Tylenol, bitch. All right. I shudder at the thought of what's to come next. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.